Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have Incredible Animal Journeys. This is from National Geographic. It is from 2023. It's one season long. It's got 7 episodes, but there's something special about the 7th one. I'll get to that in a minute. Each of them are about 45 minutes long, give or take a few minutes. And this is still another a documentary. There's no shortage of documentaries on Disney Plus about nature, about animals, but this one's a little unique in the sense that it doesn't just say this is where they live, this is how they breed and mate and fight and eat and everything else. It's got that, yeah, but it's all about movement. It's all about moving from one place to the next as part of a cycle, as part of survival. And they focus on different types of regions, different types of animals in those regions. The very first one, which is the only episode I watched, is about the creatures in the sea. We got humpback whales, we have green turtles, and red crabs primarily seen in this. By the way, it's narrated by Jeremy Renner, yeah, Hawkeye himself, and it's got somewhat of a playful tone to it at times. It's got that Jeremy Renner type of sound. It's not so much about facts and figures, and there is plenty of facts and things to learn, but this is a highly visual thing. Seriously, it's a highly visual documentary in the sense that I have never seen such clear details in any documentary I've seen before. I've seen a lot on Disney. Like I said, there's a lot. I've seen a lot of Disney Plus, going all the way back to the stuff in the '60s or the '50s even that Walt had put out. There's Disney nature stuff, and all of it's spectacular looking. But I don't think I've ever seen cameras this up close. And some, like on the turtles, they have mounted some cameras on their shells because for the most part, it doesn't affect them. Hopefully it doesn't slow them down, because at times they've got to race against all odds against sharks. And yes, sharks. It's always sharks that are messing with all the other animals. That's why I don't watch any more shark stuff. No, it's not. But it's just there's too much. There's a lot of shark stuff. We'll see how we'll deal with that come August, if there's still episodes. There will be episodes still running in August. Trust me. So what we have here is we get to see the humpback whales. We get to see one suddenly being chased by a bunch of males, female being chased by a bunch of males, and then suddenly they stop. And it's actually how they present this in a dramatic sense. It's a little surprising. I tend to not like the stories that say, hey, we're going to name this one Jeffrey, and Jeffrey, we're going to watch Jeffrey go through his entire life. And no, they don't bother naming them, but it's treated as if they are following a specific set of humpback whales or turtles, or because obviously I don't know if they're actually going to spend a year filming this, or more in some cases, or 30 years. Yeah, again, they didn't film it for 30 years, especially when it comes to the green the turtles, because very often when they're born, they scramble out of the sand and they make their run to the water on those little flippers. Got to keep going. They do everything they can to get to the water, and sadly, 1 out of 1,000. 1 out of every 1,000 make it to the water. That is a lot of carnage along the way. And you do get to see it because the birds are waiting. The birds are just know when it's going to happen. And as much as deep as you bury the eggs, and yes, you also get to see the mothers drop the eggs and leave. As much as they do what they can to keep the eggs safe from predators during the time that they incubate in the sand. Well, guess what? By the time they get out and they're these little tiny things and they're scooting across the sand, you get to watch a bunch of them get picked off by birds. Too many. It is the visuals are so clear, it's so high definition, it's unsettling. It is unsettling. And the thing is, once they reach the water, guess who's waiting? Sharks. Yeah, you get to see that too. So I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'd love to show this to some of my friends' kids who are like 3 and 5. I think they get a kick out of just seeing just how tremendous and how close up these whales and turtles and crabs look. But there's also terror involved. I mean, it's nature. It is exactly the way it's meant to work. It's just still not any less upsetting knowing that we get to see, we follow supposedly one that then spends the rest of its life, the next 30 years out in the sea, finding a mate and swimming and going finding the seagrass. It's all a great journey, but it's probably multiple turtles that they follow, and they just sort of say it's the same one. 30 years later, he comes back. She comes back, I should say. She comes back and lays her eggs. And yeah, and one of the things I learned also in the fact that because of the sex of a turtle is determined by the heat in which it is incubated, and depending on if it's too hot or not hot, I can't remember which way it is, but the odds are against many male turtles being born. 1 out of 1,000, something like that. Did I use that? Was that statistic already used in the last thing? But there's very few males born because the heat, the climate is getting warmer. The planet is getting warmer. Yeah, climate change figures into this as well. And so, yeah, you get plenty of females, maybe 1 out of a how many thousand get out into the water, and if they survive the gauntlet, they may never find a male to mate with. And the point of returning to the sand is useless. It's, yeah. We can do something about that. We can make things better, but well, we don't. When it comes to the the humpback whale, I was going to figure they were all the colors, blue whales and green turtles and red crabs, but no, they put the humpbacks in there. So the humpbacks, we get to actually see the mother whale give birth in the very opening scene of this thing. And that's when the males sort of back off and go, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to attack you. We'll just protect you now because you're a mom. And yeah, there's always a chance that sharks are going to show up, but there's a certain level of protection there for at least a little while as they make their journey from the Hawaiian Islands, the more tropical areas where she gives birth, all the way up to Alaska, that area where they get to feed. And as much as she's giving milk to the baby, she doesn't get to eat a whole lot herself along the way. But man, they do save that final shot, that money shot for the very end. You want to see some whales feeding? It is glorious and terrifying. I sound like I'm just scared under a blanket watching this documentary. I'm not. It's just when you realize the size and the power of these creatures, and you see them so closely, and also at a distance from like a drone shot. It's mesmerizing. It's honestly just so beautifully shot. There are some astounding shots. And again, I'm going to say something else that's unsettling, because the red crabs, oh boy, on Christmas Island, and they get born, or they have to face the gauntlet themselves. Just after they're born, there's uncountable numbers of these things. Even before they're born, the mothers all return to land to, well, they lay their eggs, they stay on land for a while, then they go out into the water and then shake themselves a lot during high tide, and let the eggs go, and the little tiny eggs hatch, and there's little tiny crabs everywhere, and oh boy, there's 30 million crabs giving birth at the same time. 30 million giving birth to thousands upon thousands of tiny eggs. And they make their way, when they eventually go to land and I guess grow up enough, they have to make their way to the water again. It's they carpet the jungle. They carpet the land. It's just red sideways moving crabs everywhere. That's how a crab moves. Everywhere. And the thing is, they're not that big. But man, I don't think I want to be in the middle of them. Even worse is, I think the robber crab is 10 times their size. It's humongous, and it eats other crabs for lunch. And you get to see some of that too. Yeah. It's upsetting. It's just either visually upsetting, at the same time glorious, but you just could see a nature that exists without the direct influence of man. There's not a human being seen in this documentary. There's not like, how are they working with the... Oh, okay. You do see part of their gauntlet to get to the water, the crabs get to the water. They fighting off a giant crab that eats them is one thing. They also have to sometimes crawl across a highway and not get squished by oncoming cars. The closest thing we get to see humanity is cars just squishing a bunch of crabs. Yeah. So yeah, it is real, intense, dark, kind of stuff at times, but the majesty, the beauty, I can't use enough adjectives to tell you just how freaking gorgeous this documentary is. And matched with Jeremy's dialogue, it just flows. It just works really well. And this is just one of 7 episodes. I'll tell you what else they got. You got zebras back here. This is Chasing the African Rains. They also have Alaska's River Race. Home at the End of the Earth. We got penguins, we got lizards, we got penguins, we got polar parenting. Those are little wolf cubs or something. I'm not sure what that is. It's a cute little dog looking thing. Frequent flyers, birds. And then the very last one, which I think I'm gonna have to watch at some point, whether I watch the rest of the episodes or not, is the making of how they did it. Because just looking at one episode, I'm astounded at how they got the shots they got. When you see a shot looking head on, like at the face of a green turtle who has just dropped all her eggs after a tremendous battle to make her way to land after 30 years of swimming, trying to avoid sharks, being torn apart by sharks, which you also see. They get right up in that, it just filling the shot with the turtle, and you can see and hear it breathe, and just, I've seen plenty of documentaries, but I've never seen them put that much focus on not just video, but audio when it comes to these things. There's a moment we get to see with the humpbacks where this one whale has a rope, a line or something like that has gotten into her mouth, and it's wrapped up in her tongue, and she can't feed. She can't open her mouth properly, and she's just lumbering along, weak. And something that's never been caught on film before is in the first episode, is another whale coming along and lifting her to the surface so that she can breathe. Knowing her need, understanding her need, this other whale just comes along and lifts this massive body to the surface because she doesn't have the strength anymore to make it to the surface. She still passes away in time, but not alone. This is I don't say, oh my gosh, this documentary is something that you should see, because there's a lot of documentaries. A lot of it seems redundant, and a lot of it seems dry at times. As visually interesting as they sometimes are, And some of them, are just, the vintage ones are just amazing at what they get in these older areas, and in the older eras, I should say. And they're fantastic for those reasons. But this, I just with the ocean shots is astounding. Just the beach shots without disrupting what's going on is kind of amazing. I highly recommend this. This is, if you need something to put on your TV, and even if you don't put the sound on, you're still going to want to put the sound on just to have a context for what the heck you're seeing. But you could put this on and it'd be the most fantastic screensaver you've ever gotten. So let's pick tomorrow's episode. And as I was pressing the button, I realized what I was doing. I was reminded that I have something else picked out for tomorrow that I only learned of recently because I was getting ahead of myself, and it's already on Disney Plus as of this time, and I wanted to watch it even though I didn't know about it until just a little bit ago. There is a new documentary, yes, another documentary, but it's completely different from this. It is about Goofy, the Goofy movie, in fact, about making a movie with about Goofy and his son Max. The documentary about the animation team that created something that is something completely different from what we were getting in the 90s with all the princesses and everything else. So yeah, this is we're going to be watching, I think it's called Not a Goof. Not a Goof is tomorrow's episode. So Not a Goof is, I'll tell you, 171. I'll check what that is, and now we'll watch that the day after. Not a Goof is what we're watching next on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that. Bye.